Hey everyone, Paul from Adopt and Embrace here. Welcome to the Adopt and Embrace YouTube channel. And we're going to continue our live read of Adopt and Embrace Microsoft Teams, a manager's guide to communication, collaboration, and coordination with Microsoft Teams. For those of you that have been subscribing to the channel for a while, you know every week or two I've been basically grabbing a chapter or two out of the book and just reading to you, kind of giving some sidebar stories, back behind the scenes kind of stories in terms of some of the content we had in the book. Updates in terms of what's changed in the platform since we wrote the book about 18, 20 months ago-ish, and since we've been publishing it as well. So today we're going to spend some time focusing on part 3. It's the first chapter from part 3 of the book. So part 1, if we're just going to recap what we had in the book, part 1 was really about setting the scene in terms of how to use Teams, how to communicate, collaborate, and coordinate within Microsoft Teams, the different features of the product in terms of how you can use that. Part 2 was talking about our 10P framework, which is basically the 10 principles or 10 things you can look at to help design the perfect team in Microsoft Teams. And now in part 3, it's all about applying that 10P framework and those foundations we had in part 1 to real-world problems or real-world scenarios. So what I'll do today, because I've only got a little bit of time, I'll do the introduction to part 3 and the first of the, example use cases that we have in here. And then over the next couple of live reads, we'll finish off the rest of the those examples, use cases that we have there as well. Just quickly, for those of you that are interested in the book and maybe getting some copies of this book into the hands of your leaders or managers or team leaders, management team within your organization to help them lift their fluency with Microsoft Teams and how they think about Microsoft Teams and how they apply it to everyday business problems and business opportunities that you might have within your organization. We just launched an offer on teamsbook.info, which is our Shopify store for the book. If you go and order a box of books, which is 24 copies of the book, we're giving you 25% off and free shipping anywhere in the world for the book as well. And then if you place that order before 30 June, you also get a free 30-minute consultation or chat with me or coaching call with me to guide you in the right direction in terms of how you use Microsoft Teams in your organization as well. So if you're keen to have a look at that, go to teamsbook.info, add 24 copies to the cart, and that should all automatically happen on checkout as well. So with that, if you do have a paperback copy handy, crack it open. We're on page 199, almost cracking the 200 pages of the live read. I'm at part 3, patterns from the real world. Let's get into it. Now that you have the 10Ps framework to help structure the way you and your team use Microsoft Teams, let's look for some inspiration to help get you started. We will explore a selection of real-world Microsoft Teams patterns, examples structured using the 10Ps framework, that you could use straight away with your team or use as a starting point to structure Microsoft Teams to work for you. You could start with every team at your organization and make decisions based on the 10Ps framework. However, you would soon notice that many teams are set up much in the same way. While not every organization standardizes teamwork to the level of a fast food chain, it makes sense to set up replicable structures to scale out a business. Just as teams within your organization are somewhat similar, the same can be said across Adopt and Embrace's diverse range of customers. It is almost unheard of to find a team that cannot learn something from the experience of another team at another organization, even if they are in different industries or functions. The idea for Microsoft Teams patterns was initially inspired by some well-known software engineering theory that dates back to the 1970s. A design pattern was a reusable strategy to solve a common problem. The problems are generic, and the solutions are necessarily conceptual. A design pattern is a guide, but the actual software implementation could be written in almost any programming language. It is the high-level strategic nature of the approach which has kept the design pattern approach alive to this day. Patterns don't become outdated, even though programming languages come and go, just like collaboration platforms come and go as well. The trick with the pattern approach is to be able to recognize which patterns are applicable. Most real-world problems will have elements of multiple patterns, but typically only one will be the real problem that needs solving. It's sometimes not obvious which is the dominant issue and which is an unwelcome distraction. In the following examples, we not only synthesize common problems, but have provided reusable strategies to address those problems by referring back to our 10P framework. And I think, just a comment before we go into the first use case here, the first pattern, which is the expert community of practice. This idea of use cases or scenarios or repeatable patterns when it comes to Microsoft Teams in your organization is such a powerful one. And we've found time and time again, there's a big difference in the conversation, the value of the conversation that we have in both directions with our customers when we start talking about solving business problems and improving work practices and helping achieve business outcomes using the technology at your fingertips like Microsoft Teams versus going to a workforce and saying, here is Microsoft Teams, here's all the stuff that Microsoft Teams can do, here's all the ways you can press the buttons in Microsoft Teams as well. So really grounding your program, your adoption programs, your campaigns, or your coaching activities in things that the business cares about, real world patterns, real world use cases and scenarios is a great place to start. In a future live stream, what I'll do is take you through our use case library that we've just published on adoptandembrace.com. You can check it out right now, adoptandembrace.com/use-case. We're building a library of patterns beyond what we've got in the book here in terms of how people are using Microsoft Teams to do amazing things as well. So if you want some inspiration, that's a great library to go and check out too. But let's talk about today's pattern, which is the expert community of practice. And again, we've structured these based on the 10 Ps. So the first P being problem, you kind of hear me say the Ps as we go through the chapter as well. Expert community of practice. Problem. Over the next few years, our organization will experience an immense transition period as it upgrades systems and technologies to the cloud and automates workflows for some of our departments, such as the contact center. With intense competition in the marketplace, we need our workforce to be flexible and navigate these constant changes, but at the same time, see opportunities where others don't. This will require our people to have new skills and capabilities that they may not currently possess in order to build insight and intelligence into our workplace. We understand that they have knowledge, skills, and capabilities that may not have been identified or acknowledged by our organizational systems. We want to identify these people and provide them with a voice through which they can share their knowledge and expertise with others, and in the process, learn new things that may support them in identifying new opportunities inside or outside our company. The problem is that we need new and innovative ideas for products to ensure our position in the marketplace remains competitive. We have smart people, but we don't know who they are or what they can help us with. We need to identify our talent and then match this talent with others so they can play an active role in the development of new products and services to cater for our ever-changing marketplace. So that's basically the problem statement we've suggested here. Now let's talk about purpose, the second P. We want to build a culture of knowledge and capability building through people sharing their insights and expertise with peers across the organization. In particular, the purpose of the team is to showcase new ideas and insights so that new innovations may be identified by the community that the organization can use as pilot test products. The purpose of our team is to provide an online team space where people can have interest, motivation, and expertise, who have interest, motivation, and expertise can show and share their work, share their knowledge and practices, collaborate on joint projects, and find mutual areas of project work around solving complex organizational problems in a cooperative manner supported by their managers. The name of this team will be Transformation Community of Practice. And if any of you have downloaded the 10P workbook, which you can find at Teamsbook, get my words out properly today, teamsbook.info/resources. If you go about halfway down the page, there's a link to our 10Ps workbook. You'll know when you're in the purpose page of the workbook, that's where we're trying to define what the name of the team is. So that's what we've done here, basically. The team's going to be called Transformation Community of Practice. Let's talk about a third P, people. The people involved in this team will be volunteers from the organization. They have an interest in sharing knowledge around the theme or topic, which could be drone technology, artificial intelligence, coding, or what other topics a team might come up as skill gaps or knowledge gaps that we have in the organization, and come from all parts of our national business as well. The fourth P is priorities. Again, priorities is where we think about the channel structure that we have in the team. So in this case here, our priorities as part of this community of practice are to define. So define the need for open and transparent work practices and acknowledge that our people have unique skills and capabilities that may remain hidden. Bring these hidden skills to the surface so that our organization may find pockets of expertise across the national business, allow our people to connect and network with each other, highlight opportunities for cooperation and collaboration. Another priority is to promote. We want to promote the public team to the organization for people to join in the pilot and be aware of the value and benefits of transparent work and learning practices for the purpose of identifying opportunities to collaborate on new work projects and initiatives identified within the team. We then want to evaluate by defining some initial success measures for the pilot team. We want to select some initial advocates who may act as role models and influencers in the business for this community, seek feedback on how they would inspire collaboration and promote transparent work practices in the team. We want to build the team with the advocates for working out loud, launch the team and pilot for 6 months and measure against success criteria, and determine how to scale based on the results of the pilot, and determine how to build and scale other communities of practices around the new skills and capabilities needed in their business to face the future. So in this case here, that list of priorities, you can kind of classify those as priorities of the priorities in terms of launching the community of practice. So they don't really tell us what channels that we need to have within the team. So what we really need to do, and probably one of the things we missed out on when we wrote this part of the book, is getting really laser focused on how we identify the priorities of the work that needs to occur, not just the establishment of the community of practice as well. So in this case here, it's anticipated that the following channels be created around the priorities that we have as a community of practice. Obviously we've got the general channel there, which is always going to be there in every team that you create. We recommend that the general channel is just used for talking about how we work together within the team. Don't use it for much more than that. We're going to have a channel around design and development, a channel around evaluation criteria, a channel for the pilot group, a channel for promotion, a channel for build, and a channel for launch as part of our community of practice as well, bringing new products to market, focused on that. All right, the next P we're going to talk about in this use case is principles. So the principles are what are the expectations that we're going to set with each other within the team to ensure that we all have a great success in terms of how we communicate, collaborate, coordinate together. The principles in this case are, firstly, no emails will be sent to team members. If there are any emails or anything that was likely to be an email, we'd place it into the relevant channel within the team. So try and put a chat message, or put a message into the appropriate channel first. Don't email others. And if you receive an email from others outside of the project that you want to put into the community of practice, use the send the email link so you can send emails directly into the channel as well. So if you've never tried that before, if you go to a channel in one of your teams, if you click on the three little dots, the ellipsis beside the channel name, you'll find there's an option there in that menu to copy the email link to the channel, or get the email for the channel as well. And then when you're in Outlook, you can or Gmail, wherever you are, you can forward the email that you have to that email address, and that will put that email into the channel conversation that you have there within Teams as well. It's a great way to kind of get content out of the email and into your internal kind of working space, so you can communicate and discuss what's in that email as well. The best bit about that, using that link, is it takes those attachments that might have been on the email as well and drops them into the file storage within your team too. So you don't need to mess around with attachments and all that kind of stuff too. Pretty nifty if you haven't tried it. So again, first principle, we're just going to try and use a team and not use email as much as possible. The general channel is going to be reserved for team-wide communication only. Direct messages between members of the community of practice will only be used for one-on-one communications that are not relevant to the wider group. So what we want to ensure is that when people are engaging in our community of practice, that those discussions are open, they're transparent, they're discoverable, so we can learn from each other's conversations, either in the moment or in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, when we go back and review some of the content that's in the team as well. We don't want that locked up in one-on-one conversations that aren't accessible for other people. Team members are going to commit to sharing valuable and thoughtful posts, helping other team members by linking to relevant resources as well. That's pretty cool. Members are set notifications so they follow the channel for any updates. Again, people should pick notifications that work for them. If we have the right principles in place in terms of only mentioning people when we want them to take action on a post, notifications are a little bit more under control. But if you have a space where you've got lots of things happening that you want people to see and be notified of in close to real time, then setting the notifications is an appropriate way to do that. Team members will help each other through the use of peer coaching and support when and as required. Team member managers will support the use of Microsoft Teams and will allow time off to undertake development activities during working hours identified by the team. And that's basically specific to the use case here of the community of practice, to make sure that we can take all the great stuff and knowledge that's being created and actually start to apply it to the real world activities that we have outside of the team as well. And then team members will actively share their good ideas or tips on how to use Teams in a dedicated channel for this function, so that peer learning is supported for the use of Microsoft Teams as well. So basically, we support each other. We don't rely on the service desk or others to kind of help us get to where we want to get to. The next P in our framework is plugins. So what's the great capability we can add into the team to make sure we can achieve our business objectives? This team will require the following plugins or tabs. We're going to use the Wiki tab, which is there by default in most teams, most channels, sorry. for a welcome to the community of practice team guide, and just have some simple content there to kind of position why you need to be a member of the team and how you can participate in the community of practice as well. Now, you don't necessarily have to use the wiki for that. You could use a Word document. You could use OneNote. So something that kind of gives you a way to structure some information that can be there, so you don't have to repeat the same conversation every time people talk. You could record a quick 30 to 90-second intro video using your webcam, and then have that play as a tab using one of the I think the video tab or the stream tab or the YouTube tab that you have available in Microsoft Teams as well. We're going to use Microsoft Planner for members to assign tasks and activities and basically keep each other accountable and delegate those tasks, which is a great, easy way to use Planner, bring it into a team to keep on top of those things. We're going to use Microsoft OneNote for collaborative note-taking and curating resources and links about the topic. OneNote's really interesting. A lot of people don't know that when you create a team, you basically get a shared OneNote notebook for that team as well. So if you are normally using OneNote to capture your own notes today, that's in your personal OneNote notebook. You can have a shared OneNote notebook with your team members, where you can basically have a shared notebook, essentially. So you can see the notes that other people are taking. They can see your notes. You can kind of compare notes if you want to in a nice, easy, simple way. There's lots of other use cases from OneNote in that context, but if you just want to have a shared stream of consciousness of informal notes or organic notes across your project or team, that shared OneNote notebook's a great way to do it. What have we got else here? We're going to use Microsoft Stream for access to recorded videos of meetings or guest speaker events, individual team member knowledge sharing videos. Just a bit of a sidebar there. Microsoft's changing how they store the video content when you record a meeting in Microsoft Teams now. So it's no longer going to appear in Stream. It's going to be in SharePoint or OneDrive, depending on where you kick off the meeting from. If you've got any questions about that video storage or where those meetings end up going when you record your meetings, have a chat to your IT team and they'll be able to guide you in the right direction with that as well. And then Microsoft Excel to capture details of development events that the team may hold. Again, you could use Excel, you could use Microsoft Forms. There's another option there as well. The next P is permissions, where we talk about security and who are going to give access to the team and things like that. So in this case here, for our community of practice, it's going to be a public team where anyone may be encouraged to join across our organization. So we want to encourage participation in this team. We've got 3 team owners that have been identified, and we'll make sure they've got the appropriate team owner permissions that are there. Our recommendation is make sure you always got at least 2 team owners in any team that you create. So just in case someone's away or someone leaves the organization in the future, you've got someone there to manage that team and have some continuity moving forward as well. External access to the team will be provided on a case-by-case basis, as it's anticipated that the teams may invite external guests as guest presenters to team events. They will not need to access shared resources, but will require a way to communicate one-on-one with the team members for a short period of time. So again, that's something we can manage in terms of how we bring people into or out of the space as well. The third last P is performance. That's really about goals that we have as a team and how we're going to operate in the team. So we're going to identify at least 2 new product innovations that can be tested for the market within 3 months of the team being set up. We're going to reduce the amount of training spend due to peer learning and networking within the online communities. So it's kind of business-focused goals in terms of how we want to work in the space as well. Provisioning, so how we're going to create a team. We're going to need the support of IT to show the team how to use Microsoft Teams to create teams and edit settings initially. However, over time, we anticipate that this responsibility will be with the selected team owners who are comfortable with the process. And again, if you're going to create a community of practice using Microsoft Teams in your organization, you'd probably find that depending on the organization you're in, there'll be different approaches to provisioning that you have. You might have to raise a service desk request to do it. You might have the permission to do it yourself. It might be templated already, so it might make it nice and easy that way. But again, just your mileage may vary depending on how your organization manages that stuff. Then the last P is perishability. Team owners will archive the team after no communication or engagement has occurred in over 2 years and will advise team members of this. So there we go, kind of a simple we've worked through one pattern or one use case in terms of how we can use the 10P framework to start to think about a real business problem and how we can apply Microsoft Teams to that as well, which is good to see. Now, in the book itself, like some of the challenges we had with writing this part of the book is that it's very difficult to illustrate how you'd pull all this stuff together using the 10P framework, using bullet points and text that we've got here in the book as well. So what I'd recommend if you wanted to kind of explore a use case like the community of practice, you maybe got a very specific use case for a community of practice within your organization, you can go get that workbook from teamsbook.info/resources and actually go and fill in the boxes in the workbook, because that'll probably give you a lot more of a meaningful idea of exactly how to structure the team versus what we've got here in these patterns. These patterns are really here for inspiration to kind of get you going in the right direction, but grabbing that workbook and working through the specifics of your particular problem or challenge in your team is a great way to do it as well. So with that, I'm just conscious that I'm short of time today, so I really only got time to do one of those patterns today. But next time we do the live stream, which will probably be next Thursday, sometime next Thursday, we're going to go through a few of the other. We'll probably do 2 or 3 next time. So we'll talk about the graduate induction and onboarding. This use case, this pattern is probably the #1 pattern that we use with our customers, almost across every single customer that we work with. There is an amazing onboarding pattern or approach to onboarding that can be leveraged across the entire organization, different parts of the organization. So a lot of things we'll talk about in that pattern are absolutely replicable in almost any organization in any industry. So it'd be great to share that with everyone on the next call. And then after that, we're going to talk about business conference planning. So again, how do you use Teams to plan and deliver what could be a regular event or a one-off event? So how do you bring that project team together, that conference team together, whatever it is, and use Teams in a really effective way to deliver a great event? And then how do you reuse that knowledge that you had from the last event for the next one that you do as well, which is pretty cool. Again, we've seen that work quite well in a number of organizations that we work with. So with that, I might leave it there today. If you've got any other questions or any comments or anything about the use cases of the book itself, please feel free to drop into the chat or into the comment section of the video. If you're getting value out of the book, out of the live reads or any of the other content, like our Ask Us Anything content we've been publishing recently, we'd love you to subscribe to the channel so you can get more of that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you like the content, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated as well. And just a final reminder, if you wanted to get some number of copies of the book to share with your management team or leadership team to help bring them on the journey with Microsoft Teams, we've almost sold 7,000 copies of the book now, which is just mind-blowing from my point of view. I never thought we'd sell more than 250, so really appreciate the support of everyone. But we've got a few extra copies of the book there from our second print run that we'd love to ship to you as soon as possible. If you go to teamsbook.info, if you add 24 copies to your cart, you get 25% off. And you'll get to spend half an hour with me talking about your specific challenges or teams issues or problems or opportunities that you have within your organization as well. So make sure you take advantage of that offer before 30th of June 2021 if you're watching this video in the future. So with that, thank you for tuning in, the few people that tuned in live, and we'll catch you probably next Thursday with more from Adopt and Embrace Microsoft Teams, a manager's guide to communication, collaboration, and coordination with Microsoft Teams. Have a great rest of your day. Catch you next time.